It's just that there's something more important right now. Thinking about it, he could not help but raise his eyes and looked at the flowers anxiously. But now Wu Cheng's death, how do you plan to deal with it? The inspector sent by the imperial city will arrive at Yuzhou in 3 days at the latest. Mo Shanghua drooped his eyes, thought about it a little, and said, "At present, it's natural to find out the cause and effect of this matter first. If it's really impossible, we can only count Wu Cheng's death on the bandits for the time being. In this way, the emperor can pay more attention to these bandits. Now that's all." Lu Zheng's brow was not loosened. "If necessary, I can help you whitewash the signs of poisoning on Wu Cheng's body." "Not for the time being." Mo Shanghua shakes her head and stands up. There is nothing in her ink-like eyes. "I want to go out and have a look myself." Lu Zheng saw that she was mysterious and didn't mean to say much. It can be seen that she was also uncertain in her heart, so she didn't ask much. Mo Shanghua changed his men's clothes, then quietly went out of the palace and went to Qinghuan Pavilion of Huiqianliu. She came to Qinghuan Pavilion many times, and the maid in the pavilion knew her very well. She went forward and said with a smile, "Mr. Mo is here. I'll go to arrange the elegant room, prepare tea and snacks, and then invite him to come." Mo Shanghua grabbed her and gave her a faint smile. "Girl, don't bother. I'll just sit outside today." After a pause, her eyes swept around the hall. This stand is built around the middle stage of the hall. At this time, several beautiful young girls are playing the silk bamboo pipa on the stage. The spectators around are drinking and chatting, or lighting the table to listen to the ditty. It's not noisy. Compared with other places, it's naturally elegant. "Give me a pot of wine and 2 dishes of dessert." Mo Shanghua saw this, then said again he found a seat close to the crowd and sat down. The maid was blessed and went down to give orders. Before going out, she said to another maid at the door, "As usual, go and tell the young master." As soon as the flower came, she went to inform Hua Qianlu first. The maid was very familiar with this matter, so she nodded. "Needless to say, I know. I'll go now. Go ahead and do your work first." In such a quiet and elegant place, the flower's heart calmed down for a while. He could not help holding up the wine pot and pouring himself a glass of wine. Just like the ordinary rich children, he enjoyed the girls on the stage while drinking. It seems so leisurely, but in fact, her ears are also quietly watching the gossip of the people around her. If information spreads rapidly, the fastest place is the brothel. If not, how can Huiqianliu's intelligence organization be so powerful? It's not because he has this Qinghuan Pavilion in his name, which is full of all parts of the kingdom of God. Have you heard that the rich businessmen from neighboring countries were robbed a few days ago? It seems that one of them took the lead to make trouble in front of the palace that day. He offended the princess and was driven out of the city first. Now, he is not even able to save his life. Of course I heard. I heard that I was poisoned. A few days ago, a good friend of mine made friends with King Yu. I went to King Yu's house once. I also heard that a concubine in the house was poisoned when she was having dinner with the princess. Up to now, there has been no result. This woman went crazy and poisoned one when she first entered the mansion, and now another is forbidden. Tut-tut, this method is really cruel. Yes, even those who are from other countries have no scruples. As long as they offend her, they will have no fruit to eat. How can such a poisonous woman be respected as a royal concubine? If I were a prince, I would have given her up early. Sitting on the street, a table not far away from the flower was chatting in a low voice. Suddenly speaking of this, he got excited, even his voice was much higher. After listening to the guests at the next table, they couldn't help echoing, "Is there such a vicious woman in the world? I really don't deserve to be the princess of Yuzhou. I'm unfortunate in Yuzhou. I'm unfortunate." These people talk in 2s and 3s. After a while, people in the whole hall begin to discuss the strange flowers. What they say is nothing more than such remarks. For a moment, the hall, which was originally quiet and elegant, was suddenly noisy. They were all spitting and excited, but the people they were talking about were sitting in this hall at that time. Mo Shanghua listens to the talk of people around her. She can't help but tighten her hands and lock her brows tightly. She has always been unafraid of this rumor, but it's usually quiet if she doesn't listen to it. Now, almost all the people in Yujo City are dissatisfied with her. How can she really not make waves? This rumor, in the end, is still formidable. Just thinking, the wine cup she was holding in her hand was touched lightly with the wine cup, and her wandering thoughts were immediately pulled back. Hua Qianlu, holding the wine cup in her hand, sat down in front of her and drank all the wine in the cup. Fong said, "Why, but my place is not elegant enough, so you can't enjoy it? It's just holding the glass, but it doesn't go down." The frown of the flower on the street was a little loose. He raised his hand and took the wine to his lips to drink. He said, "When is the flower young master so free, he has time to accompany his guests at any time. I'm not as relaxed as I look at you." Flower Thousand Willow lips cape slightly stir up, with a bit specious meaning, "Today in this hall a little noisy, how about we go upstairs elegant room to talk?" "No, my business is over." Suddenly, a layer of light color covered his eyes. He took out a few pieces of silver from his sleeve and put them on the table. He got up and left. Hua Qianlu didn't feel embarrassed. She raised her hand and picked up the wine pot on the table. She gently shook it with her wrist. Her lips were filled with a smile. "I drank a lot of wine." Just as he was talking about it, the maid who had just welcomed the flowers from the street came to the table. Fu Shen saluted and said, "Young master, the Lord is here. I'd like to invite you to drink." Hua Qianlu slowly got up, raised her hand to open the folding fan that had not been opened and closed, and habitually put it on her chest to shake it gently. She walked lazily and casually to the second floor. Mo Shanghua wanted to go around the front door of the palace as usual and climb over the wall in the backyard. But when she got to the front door of the palace, she glanced at it and saw a man in a black cloak talking to the guard in front of the palace. The cloak was so wide that it covered the face of the man under it. Not to mention his face, he didn't even show his fingers, but he looked like a woman. Mo Shanghua's heart moved, and she quickly flashed into the side lane to hide, but her eyes were staring at the man with the cloak. The cloak man came out of the palace. So late at night he didn't know what to say to the guard. The guard let him go and let him go. When the cloaker got out of the palace, he turned straight to the alley on the side of Mo Shanghua. Seeing this, Mo Shanghua quickly and gently jumped to the roof and squatted down to pay close attention to the cloaker's whereabouts. The cloaker didn't find the flowers on the street. After glancing around, he closed his eyes and continued to walk forward. This cloak person's vigilance is not small. The stranger flowers simply all the way along the eaves leap jump, so all the way to the end did not notice. The cloaker turned left and right in the city lane and finally entered an inn. At this moment, there must be no one in the inn. She was afraid that she was too conspicuous and that she knew herself. After thinking about it, she first looked at the door and determined which room she went to. Then she went directly to the roof and found the room. She gently uncovered a small tile and leaned over the eaves to find out where the room was. A small hole was exposed after the tiles were lifted, and the room looked inside. The furnishings in the house are very common, and there is nothing special about it. If there is something unusual, it is at this time when everyone else should have a rest, but there are several candle lights in the house. The cloaker had already sat down in front of the square table in the room. A woman was sitting opposite her. She couldn't really see her face, but they seemed very familiar. After they nodded to each other, the cloak took off the cloak and showed his true face. "Sister, I've been waiting for a long time." Although Mo Shanghua couldn't see the person's face clearly, the voice was very real. Such a voice, coupled with the familiar figure, wasn't it Xueji who was always bothering in front of her these 2 days? But who is her sister? Thinking of this, the flowers on the street can't help but hold their breath and stare at the two people in the room. The man who was called elder sister went to a cup of tea, but he didn't send it to Xueji. Instead, he put it in front of himself and said with a smile, "Recently, the situation is special. There are some strict restrictions in the house. My younger sister doesn't need to say that." Xueji gently pulled up the corner of her lip and gave a faint smile. "My sister didn't say that recently, the wind is tight." Shall we meet less? Why did you call me in such a hurry now? But what's the big deal? Nature is the most important thing. South Crane Woo from twist teacup shallow drink, then slowly weigh. The imperial city to the inspector, there are 3 days to come, that matter, you can entrust ready? Shueji helped her sideburns, smiling between her eyes and eyebrows. My sister forgot, but I haven't done anything before. Can the rest of them make mistakes? You can rest assured that she will die this time. Looking at Shueji's self-confident Mo Yang in front of him, Nanhee's eyes can't help but scratch a bit of sarcasm, but he doesn't show half of it. Since my sister is so self-confident about this, I don't care much about it. Then he got up and left. Seeing this, Shueji quickly raised her hand on the table and said, "Sister, this is not finished yet." See South Crane to her head to doubt eyes, she just stood up, eyes burning stare at her. Elder sister previously but promised me that princess's private seal, and that bitch's house things, now don't forget? Princess's private seal? What a princess's private seal can do is naturally very important. What does Shueji want? And what's in her room? What's in her room? It's not a simple decision for Shueji. She must want to take the throne of princess after getting rid of her. The flower eyebrow heart light Siu on the Mo. Staring at Snow Ji's vision can't help but take a few minutes dignified. Nanha glanced at Shueji and said with a faint smile, "Sister, what's the hurry? This princess's private seal is not a small thing. Naturally, after getting rid of that slut, I will give it to you in person." That's not what my sister said. The smile on Shueji's lips cooled down, and the soft voice disappeared. Seeing this, the smile between his eyes and eyebrows completely subsided. "Sister Shueji, although I promised you at the beginning, but I didn't say the specific time, you are so aggressive now. Is there anything that I want to do immediately? I can tell you that you have gained enough benefits now. Even the Lord has visited you every day recently. You have to think about it clearly. I'm afraid that if you want too much, you will lose it more quickly." Shueji was shocked by Nanha's words, but she was still a little unwilling. She bit her lip and said, "Although the Lord has been here recently, I have paid the price to get it. My body has been suffering from the poison recently. I know that I have wronged my sister." Hearing this, then he turned his voice suddenly and became gentle again. "But I also have difficulties in this matter. Now we have to deal with the next step first, and that goal can be achieved smoothly, can't we? If you think about it, after the death of that slut, I'll be the princess, but in my heart, I just want to have a decent reputation with the prince. This private print is dispensable to me. Naturally, it's at your disposal." Shueji didn't believe it in her heart, but she had a smile on her face and said, "I know my sister's heart to the Lord. At that time, we will support each other and serve the Lord well, which will surely make Yujo take on a new look." After a pause, she took Nanha's hand, patted it twice, and said with a smile, "But if it's really about grace, who can compare with you? I just want to hold something solid in my hand for the rest of my life." The South Crane drooped his eyes and looked at Shueji's hand on the back of his hand. There was a look of disgust at the bottom of his eyes, but he didn't brush it away. He said with a smile, "I've known the Lord for many years. After so many years of love separation, the Lord has a place in his heart. Naturally, it's not the slut in the street. Only a few months of dew can compare." At this point, she could not help thinking that when she was injured while performing a task, he sent someone to deliver medicine to her. In addition, in the past, the corners of her lips and eyebrows were slightly tender. At that time, the Lord was very gentle to me, always different from others. Mo Shanghua only heard here, then he didn't have the heart to listen. He put the tiles back again, then left quietly and went back to the mansion. After listening to the front words, she didn't have too many mood swings. She just had some knowledge of those things in her heart. But the back words made her very unhappy. "The news from my people is that Yen Moli is escorting those people, and there is a huge team around him. It's very inconvenient to march. Now we can get to the imperial city." Hua Qianlu took the folding fan and gently shook it in his hand, with a smile on his lips. Yen Beiqing was dressed in black today, and his whole momentum was very arrogant. At this time, when he heard the words, his deep eyes were like a drop of ink, which seemed to dye the whole eye socket with ink. He said faintly, "The Emperor's will is above, and the land has not been designated." Flower Thousand Willow eyebrows light pick, die a little curious. "How, do you want him to go not to fiefdom?" Yen Beiqing didn't shake his head or nod his head. Everyone thought that it would be difficult for the prince to succeed to the throne when he was sent to the fiefdom. But if you think about it in another direction, the fiefdom is the place far away from the emperor. It's a place where you can avoid suspicion and support troops. Yen Moli is not very popular with the emperor now. If this thing is done, his throne has been decided. If he asks for the fiefdom, the emperor will not forget it, give it to him. He's very resourceful. If he does, will he let the tiger go back to the mountain? After a pause, he said, "So what I want to do is to let him have no face to open this mouth and ask the emperor to grant him land. As long as he doesn't mention it, I don't think the emperor will let him go to the fiefdom. It's his mother, Princess Jiang, who can only plead guilty." Hua Qianlu closed the folding fan and nodded to his chin. "That's right. Brother Beiqing's analysis is so clear. I'm afraid he's already laid a net. I'll just wait for him to go back and drill." "It's not a net." Yen Beiqing glanced at him and opened his thin lip. "It's just that he sent some people to ambush on the road and prepare to rob the prisoners he's locked up." Flower Thousand Willow, a pair of fox eyes, suddenly smile of "Am I get up? North City elder brother, you this can compare what clever means, all want to be much stronger, just seem to have some bad morals." Yen Beiqing didn't answer. He hung his eyes and pinched an empty wine cup. He habitually put it in his hand and played with it. He didn't think much of Hua Qianlu's words. "Oh yes." Hua Qianlu suddenly thought of something. She patted her forehead with a meal and said, "The people in Yuegwa said that the emperor had sent someone to urge him. I'm waiting for you to go back and calculate the astronomical phenomena for him." Speaking of the latter, the words are with a smile, "I don't know, you have such a study of astronomical phenomena, admire, admire." Yen Beiqing raised his eyes and glanced at him. Instead of half fearless, he added with a smile, "How can Brother Beiqing meet? If I could meet you, I would not have been with you for a long time." Yen Beiqing closed his eyes, and there was no expression on his cold face. "The inspector is coming soon, the person who came this time." Before he had finished his sentence, he heard the door knocked gently. "Young master, the girl has come back and ordered a lot of wine. Would you like to have a look?" Before Hui Qianliu accepted, Yen Beiqing got up and opened the door with 3 and 5 steps. He looked at the maid and said, "Where are the people?" The maid was a stranger. She was surprised to see Yen Beiqing. Then she gave a blessing and said, "I've invited you to the elegant room on the 3rd floor. It's the first room on the corner of the 3rd floor." As soon as the voice fell, Yen Beiqing was no longer in sight. The maid took a look at the flower willow which was still sitting in the room. She couldn't help asking, "Young master, don't you go and have a look?" Hua Qianlu put the folding fan she had been holding in her hand to one side, took up the wine cup in front of her, and gently raised a self-mocking radiance on her lips. "What's the matter between them and me?" The maid choked and sighed as if she had lost her folding fan and looked like a flower willow. "Their child has always been a romantic person in my class. When did he do this for a woman?" "How do you know I'm here?" Mo Shanghua just poured a glass of wine, and before he had time to eat, he saw Yen Beiqing appear in front of him. His eyebrows could not help but slightly frown. "Did the 2 people who followed me tell you again?" Yen Bei City closed the door, walked to her side, said, "You don't care how I know, you just tell me, but recently there are too many things you can't bear. This is here to drink?" Mo Shanghua neither shook his head nor nodded, but frowned at him. Yen Beiqing raised his hand, took the wine cup in her hand, sat down beside her, and said, "There should be many things tomorrow. If you drink too much, you must have a headache tomorrow morning, or drink less. If you are really upset, you might as well tell me that I will share the burden with you." The more he said that, the more inexplicable and boring he was. She pursed her lips. After a while, she said in a hoarse voice, Let your dark guard go back. Don't follow me quietly in the future. After a pause, she added, I don't like being watched all the time. Yan Beiqing didn't expect that Emo Shanghua would say this. He was stunned for a moment, but he still couldn't bear to refuse and said, okay. But I think you should tell me, what's the matter with you? Emo Shanghua shakes her head. She doesn't care about the wine already on the table. She gets up and goes out. It's late. I'll go back to my house to have a rest. If I have something to do, I'll talk about it tomorrow. Wild Goose North City, some inexplicable looking at the figure of flowers on the street gradually, the heart did not understand to the extreme. What happened to her? Why did she refuse to say anything? Or did he do something wrong? Is frowning to think, the body sighed Shu but rang out Emo Ling careful voice. Lord, that person want to withdraw to come back? Naturally. Yen North City this just returned to God, immediately answered A. Qinya stayed in the house as usual, waiting for Emo Shanghua to come back. As soon as she came back, she seemed to have something wrong with her face. She asked anxiously, Princess, what's the matter with you? How can I go out and look so bad? Emo Shanghua shakes her head, sits on the edge of the bed and thinks for a long time, then raises her eyes again. At that time, her eyes have no half assent, and she is as melancholy as before. She has recovered her former quiet and indifferent color. Qinya, there are a few things. Seeing this, Qinya immediately came over and quickly attached her ears. Emo Shanghua saw this and lowered her voice. She told her carefully in her ear. Wu Cheng's affair has not yet come to an end. It was supposed to be the inspector who arrived in Yuzhou City 3 days later, but suddenly a letter came, saying that he was about to arrive at the gate of the city. Emo Shanghua had not yet come 2 days ahead of time, so she was pulled over by Qinya. After dressing up carefully, she went out of the city with the team prepared by Yan Beiqing, ready to meet the inspector from the imperial city. Emo Shanghua never thought that the inspector sent by the imperial city this time would be Yan Zhenchuan. He has always been sick and weak. Who ever thought that it would be his turn to rush about like this? Now, however, he looks pretty good. As soon as Yan Zhenchuan's team and Yan Beiqing's team met, he subconsciously searched in the crowd. When he was young, he fell on the beautiful cheek of the flower in the street. In an instant, his eyes swept thousands of lingering attachment, like a long time under the general's silk, gently pull, then pull out the strands of lingering. The person he likes is the original owner of the body. The stranger thinks that he is not the original owner. When he stares at him like this, he feels very uncomfortable. When he is at a loss, fortunately he has moved his eyes. Since Yan Beiqing saw that the inspector was Yan Zhenchuan, his face turned dark. At the moment, Yan Zhenchuan came and looked at his princess first. Naturally, his heart became more and more unhappy, but he pulled out a smile on his face. It turns out that the inspector mentioned by his father is actually 13. You see, you can't tell me in advance, but you quietly put forward your schedule and made a good deal of money. Wang is in such a hurry that he can't even get ready for your reception. Yan Zhenchuan's body was thin, and his facial features were soft and handsome. At that time, after listening to Yan Beiqing's words, he suddenly twisted a gentle smile on his lips, which showed that he was weak and delicate, warm as jade. It's not 13. I feel better when I come here. I'm afraid that I'll delay my brother's business if I come late. Unexpectedly, not only I didn't delay my brother's business, but also I made my brother in a hurry, right? I don't think about it well enough. Now it's midsummer, and it's noon. The sun is just in front of us. People around us are sweating, and horses are rubbing their front hooves restlessly. Emo Shanghua glanced at Yan Beiqing, and saw that there was no sweat on his white cheek, but Yan Zhenchuan, who only stayed in the sun for a while, but his face was not very good. He said, Now is the most poisonous time of the sun, and this is not a place to talk. Your Highness would better follow us back to the palace. Although we are in a hurry, it's not a good place. The reception banquet is indispensable. When you enter the banquet, the Lord is chatting with His Royal Highness. If there is nothing wrong with Emo Shanghua, he is a person with few words, but now he has so many words and is still so concerned. Thinking of this, Yan Beiqing was more and more unhappy. The more she said that, the more he wanted to refute her face and said, "It's okay. 13, I heard that you are in a hurry all the way. How can you stand your bad health? Is it not that your father invited some immortal to refine the elixir and cure your disease? There's no fairy pill." Yan Zhenxuan couldn't help laughing. He looked as warm as ever. He didn't see any dissatisfaction. "It's just my disease. It's always like this. I'm better today. Maybe I'll be seriously ill tomorrow. It all depends on the will of heaven." As he spoke, the thin sweat on his forehead became more and more. In a short time, it had condensed into big beads of sweat, which fell down his cheek. His hair was soaked with sweat, and his white cheek became extremely red because of the sun. However, his thin lips were completely pale, and there was no blood. Yan Beiqing didn't know how to stay for a while, but Yan Zhenxuan's face was not good, but he didn't mention the matter of going back. He continued, 13, you are not honest. I've heard that you are the eye of my father. Since I was a child, I've loved you all the way. The doctor naturally wants to invite the best. What's God's will? What do you think? It's the Father's kindness. Words, as if with a bit of acid in general. Yan Zhenxuan raised his hand and wiped the sweat on his forehead. He reluctantly laughed without saying anything. Zhao Wei, who was behind him, glanced at his face. His face sank a little, and he said, Your Highness Yu Wang, Your Highness Shan is weak. He has been running on the road for such a long time. Now he can't continue to bask in the sun. Otherwise he can't stand it. Before the end of the future, but by His Majesty's thousands of exhortations, we must make sure that Your Highness is in good health. Please also take Your Highness's body as the most important thing, and talk about the past, or wait until Your Highness is better. Even the Emperor moved out. Naturally, Yanbei City did not continue to let Yan Zhenxuan bask in the sun, so it was enough. He raised his hand and said, Go back to the palace. The two teams formed a team and headed for the city. The Emperor's favorite prince came to the imperial city. Yan Beiqing came to meet him in person. Naturally, the battle was not small. On the road, people gathered in the street and craned their necks to watch. Originally, they were just discussing the rumors about Yan Zhenxuan. Now when they met the real person, the discussion was much weaker. Instead, they turned to the Mo Shanghua who came with them. Well, you see, the woman next to her is Princess Yu, right? I didn't expect the real person to look so handsome. Or the beauty of snakes and scorpions. How many concubines died in the palace when she poisoned them? And the rich businessman who offended him before, but now they're all here, and none of them come to a good end. It's really evil. Hey, look at the 13 princes' face. It must be that this woman's life is hard and the 13 princes' life is thin. She can't stand such a gram. Many of the chattering discussions fall into Zhao Wei's ears, and his exploring eyes can't help falling on the stranger. This woman, when she was on the road, suddenly seemed to be a different person. Is she more unscrupulous now that there is no control in Yuzhou? No, he has to pay attention these days. If it's true, he will go back and report it to His Majesty. Yan Beiqing has been busy with other things these days. He has no idea that the rumors in the city have developed to this point. At this moment, his eyes suddenly sank, and his eyes were full of violence. Even Yan Zhenxuan, who was extremely uncomfortable at the moment, barely held up his spirit and paid a little attention. After listening to some remarks clearly, his face, which was not very good-looking, became more and more ugly. His body has always been so bad. When he arrived at the palace, before he had time to go to the reception banquet, he couldn't hold on and fell in front of the palace. The happy palace he had just prepared suddenly became a mess, and he was in a hurry to find a place for him. Zhao Wei's face changed a lot. As if something had happened to him, he quickly picked up the two royal doctors who were with him and helped Yan Zhenxuan diagnose and treat him. Although he had a heart, Zhao Wei and the two royal doctors couldn't get involved at all. The emperor gave Yan Zhenxuan a lot of servants in the imperial city. Yan Beiqing didn't have to worry about it. So he stayed outside with Emo Shanghua, waiting for the news from the imperial doctor. The man inside was obviously ill by Yan Beiqing, but now he was sitting on the seat drinking tea as if nothing had happened. Seeing his appearance, Emo Shanghua felt a little angry and asked, "Why are you gossiping at the gate of the city today? I have already reminded you that the sun is so poisonous and your royal highness is so weak that everyone knows it. How can you stay in the sun for such a long time?" Yan Beiqing turned his eyes and looked at the flowers on the street. His eyes blinked gently, and his slender eyelashes swung gently. His face was full of innocence. "I'm just thinking that it was a few months ago since I last saw the 13 Emperor's younger brother. I miss him so much that I can't help saying a few more words." After a pause, he added, "I only said 2 more words here. Who knows that his body is so weak? This damn big-tail wolf." Emo Shanghua saw that he looked like this, and his anger became more and more exuberant. She could not help biting her teeth and said, "How many times have you met Prince 13? Why, just a few aspects make you worry about this half-brother. Wang Yi is really affectionate. Yen North City Mao color is cold a few minutes, the lip cape lightly picks a few minutes. How, you see with him of many? I forgot. You did see a lot of them." Suddenly, he stood up and stared at him straight. "What do you mean by that?" But Yan Beiqing looked away, did not look at her, and did not answer. As soon as Qinya saw that the atmosphere was not right, she turned her eyes, looked inside, and said, "Prince and Princess, I just heard the imperial doctor say that your highness seems to have some heat stroke. Would you like me to order someone to boil some sour plum soup first?" The congealed atmosphere was a little bit more relaxed. She quickly pulled the flowers on the street. "Princess, the plum that the chef just arrived today is very fresh. Will you go and have a look with me? Now it's time to have lunch. I'd better supervise the big guy to get ready." Say, don't wait for Emo Shanghua to reply, then pull her sleeve directly, dragged her out. Emo Shanghua simply takes her eyes, so she lets Qinya drag herself out. After they went out, they didn't go to the kitchen as Qinya said. Qinya knew that Emo Shanghua was in a bad mood now, so she followed her around the palace. Emo Shanghua did not speak, so she pursed her lips and walked around the house aimlessly. Qinya follows Emo Shanghua. Seeing Emo Shanghua in a gloomy state, she thinks about it and asks in a low voice, "Princess, what's the matter with you recently? It's not that you are in a bad mood, it's that you are always with the prince. A lot of bickering?" Later, she turned around in her throat and finally swallowed it back. "I don't know, maybe in summer, the weather is dry." Qinya tilted her head and looked at the flower on the street. After thinking about her beautiful cheek for a long time, she suddenly said, "Look, concubine, all your happiness and anger these days are not because of the Lord. Is it the Lord who has gone to Shueji and neglected you? Or?" After a pause, she stirred her sleeve and hesitated for a long time. Then she said, "I've heard about that 13 Highness before. You've been in love with him since childhood. Is it because he?" What's on your mind? The thoughts of Hua fans leaving on the street were immediately pulled back by Qinya's words, and he turned around in tears and laughter. "Your Highness is not in good health. I used to help him diagnose his pulse quietly before. I knew his physical condition and that he couldn't stand the noon sun, so I told him." Qinya bit her lip, half puzzled and half unclear. "Then why did you have a quarrel with the Lord just now?" The flower on the street choked. She turned back, raised her hand and pinched a leaf, and said, "Your Highness is the inspector sent by the imperial city this time, and he is also the emperor's favorite prince. If anything happens to him, I'm afraid the whole Yuzhou will suffer. Naturally, I'm more interested." Qinya, however, turned her lips. Obviously, she didn't completely believe it. "Princess, look, there are so many troubles in recent days that you are so stupid. The prince was so jealous that you can't even see it." Emo Shanghua suddenly lung came down, obviously didn't think of this layer before. However, when she thought of Nanha, the subtle emotion just rose and her heart disappeared. "It has nothing to do with me." When Qin Yatan choked, he walked around to Emo Shanghua and wondered, "Princess, what are you vomiting? Or did someone else really offend you?" Emo Shanghua kneaded the leaves in her hand and changed their shape. Her slender fingers were stained with a lot of green juice, but she didn't realize it. What else can she do besides the usual trifles? Seeing that she refused to admit it, Qin Yajing wanted to ask some questions, but suddenly a soft female voice came from behind. I have seen the princess. Xueji is well-dressed and dignified. On her delicate cheek, she doesn't look sick. On the contrary, she looks good. Emo Shanghua busily threw the leaves that had been rubbed and rotten in her hands. Then she turned around and looked down at Xueji, who was saluting to Zhengfu. Get up. Thank you, princess. Snow Ji's soft voice, soft language way thanks. This just Ying gets up. Qinya stares at Xueji's ruddy cheek. She has no good face on her face. She can't help but say, look, Madame Shui looks so good. Where is she going? Xueji's handkerchief hand raised her hand and touched her cheek, with a smile on her face. The maid next to the princess can really talk. I heard that when the maid was poisoned a few days ago, the princess was also the maid of the school. Is that the girl? Say, Mao Guang Ying falls on Qinya. Emo Shanghua pulls Qinya behind him and says faintly, she's right. It's a pity that she's clumsy. She didn't find out that day, but it made you suffer some grievances. After a pause, she glanced at a jade bead flower in Xueji's bun and said, Sister, I look at this bead flower very chic. It seems that I have seen it somewhere. Qinya, if I remember correctly, does the South Imperial concubine have the same one? Qinya raised her eyes and looked at the pearls in Xueji's hair. She said without a smile, I'm stupid, but I look a little like you. It's just that the hairpin seems to be the beloved of the South Imperial concubine. I often wear it on my body. How can I give it to others? Princess, I think we are wrong. Smell speech. Emo Shanghua stares at that bead flower to see again. The corner of lips lightly picked a few minutes, if have no radian, after you say so, seem to really only have a few minutes similar, just, is not an object, sighed Imperial concubine that is the treasure that the prince bestows, here to seem to still be the thing of that year, poor don't know, you this again come from where? Xueji's eyes flashed. She lifted her hand and pulled out the jade pearl flower. She said, it's just that the Lord came to see my maid a few days ago. I'm sorry that there is no pearl flower on my head. I'm willing to give it to you if the princess likes it. In fact, Mo Shanghua didn't say wrong. The hairpin was given by Nanha before. She also believed what Mo Shanghua said. She only felt that Nanha secretly put himself together and scolded Nanha thousands of times in her heart. I don't know, the words of Mo Shanghua just now are all picked up by her mouth. As for whether it is a rare object or a thing of love, how can she know? Mo Shanghua raises her hand to pick up the emerald pearl flower in Xueji's hand. She looks down at it carefully. There are no waves in her quiet eyes. She just looks up and down in Xueji's heart. However, Mo Shanghua just looked at it casually and then put the pearl flower on Xueji's temples again. She said with a smile, it's a pity that the jade is so good. It's better for me. It's better for you to wear it. Xueji felt relieved in her heart and immediately pulled out a smile on her face. The princess's sister is too modest, and her sister is beautiful. It's very good to wear anything. No matter the appearance or the words, they all seemed to have returned to what they had done when they made friends with Mo Shanghua a few days ago, as if they had never happened. Just then, I saw a young man turn out from behind Xueji. After seeing the ceremony, he said to the stranger, Princess, your 13 Highness is awake. The prince asked if you want to go and have a look. The full and ruddy lips of the flowers on the street couldn't help sipping, but they didn't answer. Seeing this, the young man said, the Lord said that his 13 Highness came all the way and fell ill as soon as he came. It's because we didn't take good care of him. You and the Lord are the masters of the palace. Naturally, you should bear the responsibility together and pay for his 13 Highness. Xueji was listening, and her eyebrows could not help but slightly jump. Her heart was like a weight and she suddenly fell down. The same master of the palace. Yan Beiqing can say such words now. It can be seen that he really put Mo Shanghua on the top of his heart. But if Emo Shanghua continues to be so powerful, won't he destroy their affairs even more in the future? Only by this point, the flowers on the street cannot be left. Emo Shanghua didn't pay attention to Shueji's expression. The boy's words were enough to move her, so she didn't look for any excuses. She just said, "Go back to the Lord, I'll go to the kitchen and take the sour plum soup." Yes. The boy bowed himself to give another salute and then retreated. Emo Shanghua is about to go to the back kitchen and bring the sour plum soup in person. Then she hears a particularly sharp female voice behind her and says, "I'm really lucky. I just came out to breathe. I saw the princess." The flower eye on the street once crossed a few minutes impatient, but still turned to the person behind to see. Unexpectedly, the person who appeared behind her at this time was Pingji, who had been banned from walking before. Her swollen cheek had been well, but this month's confinement did not seem to be very good. She seemed to have lost a lot of weight, and her eyes were slightly sunken, which made her mean. Mo Shanghua turned around. This is perfunctory and reluctant blessing body line a gift. Shueji see her salute, also followed by a gift. Pingji's eyes enviously swept the jade pearl flower added in Shueji's hair, and her tone suddenly became sour. After only a few days, Shueji has found a good master? Oh, it seems that you are really following the right person. You are getting rid of your usual poverty. Shueji's identity in the mansion is just a civilian woman. She has always been in poor health and can't be spoiled. She is the most humble existence in the mansion. Now she is suddenly dressed up and looks better. Pingji is naturally jealous. Before she could see the flowers on the street, her eyes swept around the flowers again. When she caught a glimpse of the green and white fingers on the flowers, it seemed that she saw something ridiculous. She covered her lips and began to laugh. The princess is more and more dressed today. Why? Is the green touch on her fingers a popular ring in the city recently? What do you mean by style? Or did the princess stay with the small family for a long time and also be infected with the poverty? Oh, I've forgotten that the origin of the princess is not so glorious. This remark is really a thorough offense to both of them. Without waiting for the flowers to bloom, Pingji, who usually looked very gentle, turned cold and said, "Sister, I'm not from a high family. If you don't feel comfortable with me, you can say something about me. But what's the status of the princess, and how can it be criticized at will? The concubine's birth is not high. Is it difficult for her to be a noble son born by a foot-washing girl from a rich merchant's family?" After a pause, she said, "I'm not from a high family, but at least I'm from a high family. I can't compare with you." Qin Yaden laughed, provoking Pingji, who was so proud that her face became more and more ugly. She clenched her fists with hatred. She could not vent her anger in her heart. She simply pointed to Qinya and said in a hate voice, "No matter what my family background is, I'm a master in the house now. Princess, look at the good slave you raised. How dare you even laugh at him now? If not severely punished, how can you convince the public?" Qin Yaden received a smile, innocent face turned to see flowers on the street. Mo Shanghua took 2 steps to Pingji's direction, and her ruddy and full lips gently said, "What Pingji said is that my people are disrespectful to you, so it's time to punish them. However, the next people are like this, so you and I should set an example?" Pingji heart a tight, grasped the cuff, strong support momentum way. "What do you mean?" Mo Shanghua raised her hand and gently smoothed Pingji's broken hair to her temples. Then she helped her trim her dress. She said, "It's nothing. It's just that my sister should be more respectful and polite when she sees me next time." As soon as her voice fell, her voice suddenly turned, as if she had changed into a person. She said in a cold voice, "Come on, Shueji, you can't be forgiven for contradicting the princess. I'll drag you down and play 20 boards to punish you." As soon as the words fell, Qin Lin immediately brought 2 boys over and directly pressed Pingji on the ground to get the board. Pingji's whole face was completely white, and then it was gradually replaced by burning red. Her slender nails were clasping the ground with hatred, and she said in a hate voice, "Bitch! You remember?" These, as well as before, she will come back sooner or later. However, no matter what she said, it was useless. The flower on the street had already gone far away, but her punishment was not reduced because the flower on the street had left. She fell under her buttocks. She couldn't help crying in pain. Shueji didn't leave immediately. Instead, she stares at her punishment. After a while, she feels bored and then gets up to leave. Just now I heard from the royal doctor that your highness is suffering from heatstroke. This is the sour plum soup just boiled by the back kitchen. It has the effect of pyrolytic heat. Have a taste of it, your highness. Emo Shanghua stands in front of the collapse. As she talks, she takes a bowl of sour plum soup from the tray in Chinya's hand and sends it to Yen Zhenchuan's maid. The maid took the bowl and was about to feed Yen Zhenchuan to drink it. But he waved his hand and took the bowl himself. He took 2 mouthfuls of it. After only 2 drinks, she put it aside and said, "It's better than the taste in the imperial city." The princess looked at the cooking and must have told her a lot. The princess really bothered. As a matter of fact, according to his seniority, he should call Emo Shanghua Huang Sa. However, the 2 words went round and round in his throat, but the exit was blocked. In any case, he could not get out of his throat. Especially when he saw her standing with the man beside him, his heart became more and more uncomfortable. Mingming also knows that the person in front of him is not really her. He thought that the reason why he did so was that his body was still the same. If not, he would not have begged the emperor for a long time. Anyway, he would have invited himself to Yuzhou. Yen Beiqing seemed to see what Yen Zhenchuan was thinking. He raised his hand and took the flowers in his arms. He said with a smile, "You are too polite. Anyway, Aifei is also the emperor's sister-in-law of your direct relatives. You are injured in our place. Naturally, we should take care of you. When you are well, I will set up a reception for you and make amends." "That's too expensive." Yen Zhenchuan's eyes were fixed on Yen Beiqing's hand holding the flowers on the street. After a while, he could move away. He forced out a smile. At the moment, the treasury is not abundant and disasters are happening everywhere. There are too many places to use money. The emperor's brother should not only save these useless money, but also save money. However, Yen Beiqing waved his hand and said, "The expenses in the palace are always provided by the shops in the name of the palace. The territory like Yuzhou doesn't cost much. In addition, every year's salary doesn't need to be used up. 13, you don't have to worry about it. This reception banquet must be held." Emo Shanghua knew that he was just being polite. After thinking about it, he should also say, "It's not urgent. Your Highness, it's the first priority to take good care of your health. When you are well, this reception can be well held." Yen Zhenchuan raised his eyes and looked at the flowers on the street. His lips moved slightly. It seemed that he had something to say, but there was only a very short sentence in his mouth, "So, I'll trouble you." At this time, it was obviously not the time to talk about business. Emo Shanghua and Yen Beiqing did not mention military expenses. After another charge, they left here for a while to let Yen Zhenchuan have a good rest. As soon as they left, Zhao Wei came to Yen Zhenchuan. Yen Zhenchuan saw that he wanted to talk and stop. He immediately understood and sent all the people in the room down with a wave. "You all go down. If you have something, we will pass it on to you." Seeing that all the people in the hall had retreated, Zhao Weifang said, "Your Highness, when the last general just entered the city, he heard some words. I wonder if you also heard them? Those are the words that are not to the ear?" Yen Zhenchuan sat up with his bed in one hand, and there was no wave on his face because of Zhao Wei's words. "Those are just rumors that are not on the top of the table. The so-called rumors, few of them will be true. Why should the general listen to and believe them?" Zhao Wei does not think so, a loyal face full of awe. Can Ma Jiang think, if rumors accumulate more, it cannot be groundless, always some credibility. Yen Zhenchuan has not refuted, lift Mao to fix of stare at him. Zhao Wei did not evade, and let Yen Zhenchuan stare at him like this, saying, "At the end of the day, I will think that when I go back to the imperial city, I'd better report it." After a pause, he took a look at Yen Zhenchuan's face and said, "No matter whether it's true or not, this rumor is so serious, it's time to report it to your majesty to see if it needs to be calmed down, so as not to pollute the reputation of the princess. Even if you want to report, you have to see the truth first." After pondering for a long time, Yen Zhenchuan opened his mouth, and his eyes were full of firmness. "Our palace is the inspector of this Yuzhou trip. Naturally, I am in charge of this matter, and I want to report it. After seeing it clearly, I will report it myself, so don't worry about it." Zhao Wei's thick black eyebrows suddenly wrinkled into 8 characters, as if thinking of something, and said, "Your Highness, what else do you think about this Princess Yu? If not, why do you want to protect everything like this?" In the past, there were some rumors about the 13 princes and the Prime Minister Liu Qianqian in the imperial city. However, later, there was a story about the true and false Qianjin. If they were in love with each other, naturally, they could only disappear. When they first heard about it, he didn't think it was true. Now it seems that it is true. Yen Zhenchuan's face, which had no blood color, turned white again. It seemed that those who had appeared before. His right hand could not help clenching his fist slightly. The white jade finger on his thumb touched between his fingers. The cool touch pulled him back from his memory. His thin lips could not help sipping and said, "I just said that rumors are not believable." Zhao Wei lung, and then cannot help but raise his hand to touch his brain, a face of embarrassment. Seeing this, Yen Zhenchuan gently breathed out a breath and said slowly, "How is Princess Yu? Let's stay longer. We can always know. I'm afraid I can't stand running in a short time. The general really doesn't have to be in a hurry." Zhao Wei nodded. "The end will understand, later we'll personally pay attention to some. Your Highness's body is not good, or good health and recuperation is good. When recuperation is good, we can talk about other things." Mo Shanghua is walking side by side with Yen Beiqing, but both of them have their own thoughts. Along the way, no one spoke first. It was not until she returned to the dockyard and went to spend her own room that she could not help turning around and looking up at Yen Beiqing. "What are you doing here?" Yen North City shrugged, or outside that pair of languid appearance, "You are my king's princess, my king to you this place how? Isn't that normal?" The flowers in the street were blocked by his words, and there was no way to refute them. He simply opened the bead curtain and walked towards the inner room, leaving a hard word in his mouth, "Help yourself." "I don't think so." Yan Beiqing but pick eyebrow, the villain a gang of Baba together up, "I want you to accompany me." Say, raise a hand to then grasp the hand of Mo Shanghua, pull her to own bosom. Mo Shanghua subconsciously struggled twice, but the result was the same as that of countless times before, and he couldn't struggle at all. She simply gave up the struggle, looking at Yan Beiqing helplessly. "What are you going to do?" Yan Beiqing stares at Mo Shanghua's delicate cheek for a while. He can't help but raise his hand and gently pinch it on the tip of her nose. "You can't really see it or you can't fake it. I'm here, but it's very sour." Said, he grabbed the hand of flowers on the road to his left chest, the position of the heart. "But the whole bubble in here, if you let him bubble down, I'm afraid it will be rotten." Because she was held by Yan Beiqing, her whole palm was forced to be placed on Yan Beiqing's heart. Through her thin clothes, she could even clearly feel the strong and powerful heartbeat of Yan Beiqing under her palm. Flowers on the street cannot help but lung, the whole person is frozen there. This time, the helpless person changed into Yan Beiqing. He couldn't help pinching the tip of the flower's nose again and said with a straight face, "Wood, you are really a wood." Mo Shanghua this just returned to God, some dull raised his head to look at him. "Acid?" Yan Beiqing saw that she seemed to be enlightened. He nodded vigorously. "It's so sour even the old fox can smell it." Mo Shanghua pursed her lips and took her hand back from his heart. After a long time, she said, "I have nothing to do with Yen Zhenchuan. I will care about him and see that he is not well. If something happens in Yuzhou, it's not a good ending. What Yen Zhenchuan likes is the original owner, and the people he has been with are also the original owner. Naturally, it has nothing to do with her. It is because of the original owner." Thinking about it, she added, I just didn't understand why you did that before now. Now I know that I will not be angry with you. Later, she did not continue to say, only half said, then the rest and swallow back. In that case, she really can't say it. However, she thought that even if she didn't say it, Yen Beiqing would understand. Yen North City lips cape this just arouses a bit of smile. Raise a hand to take the mo shang flower in own bosom, pull the distance of two people closer, more intimate. Mo Shanghua was just pulled by him, and half of his body was leaning into his arms. Now the whole person has been hanging on him, and his cheek is close to his chest, even the breath of his whole body can be clearly smelled. Yen Beiqing's slender thin fingers through the mo flower's soft smooth hair, voice is particularly low and pleasant to hear, Mo's son. The flower quilt on the street was so confused that it called for a moment. After a long time, it raised its head and said, "Call me? Is there anyone else?" Yen Beiqing couldn't help laughing. He raised his hand and stroked her disordered hair. "If there's something unhappy or jealous, you have to say it to me just now, you know? Say it." The flower eyebrow tip on the street lightly picked to pick, always inside the eyes of quiet, but at the moment like a clear spring at the end of visible general, water run crystal clear tight. Yen Beiqing couldn't help rubbing the hair he had just taken care of for her again. His voice was very gentle. "I know you have a lot of things hidden in your heart. Don't be bored today. Can you say it? If you don't tell me, how can I know where you are unhappy?" Is he guiding himself? Mo Shanghua can't help pursing her lips and retreated from his arms. "Do you know? What she said is about Nana." Yen North City Mao light flashed for a while. "The complexion is like old. As long as you don't say, I don't know anything." In fact, yesterday after Mo Shanghua left, he talked with Hui Qianliu for a long time. Hui Qianliu finally told her that Mo Shanghua had asked about the relationship between Nanha and him twice. "Today, I was not angry for a moment. I was trying to open my heart with her, but later it's still hard to control. Fortunately, it's better now." He fixed looking at the flowers on the street. "As long as you ask, I will tell you all." Such affectionate, Tianxinghua after all, is a woman, how can it be indifferent? But about the South Crane, it has almost become her heart knot. For a while and a half, she really can't say. However, when Yen Beiqing thought that she was so calm when she just said that she was jealous, she was not so uncomfortable. She sipped her lips and said, "You are with Nan He, what's going on?" After a pause, she said, "I heard him say that you have known her for many years, and you are in love with her, and then you take her back to the house." Smell speech Yen North City whole body temperature suddenly dropped several layers. Water caltrip clear cheek contained frost general. "She is so tell you?" Mo Shanghua nodded. Seeing him like this, he guessed something in his heart. 1 second ago, the frosty face softened when he looked at the flowers on the street. He said in a soft voice, "She is actually the leader of a department in my secret guard camp. She has been with me for many years. This time, I went to the government just to cooperate with me to complete the task. I used to treat her all kinds of things, but it was just a play on occasion." After a pause, he said, "For people like me, my heart is already stone. How can I have any feelings for my subordinates? You are the only one who is different. Sleepy so long not suddenly so untie, spend a time also some can't adapt to come over, lung for a long time, just some uncertain like asked, seriously?" Yan Beiqing raised his hand, 3 fingers together. "If there is a half-empty words, it will make it difficult for me to achieve great cause in this life, love not." A word hasn't finished, Mo Shanghua pulls down his hand, hastily way, "I believe." Since he was a child in Yuzhou, Yen Beiqing has been playing the role of a pig and eating a tiger. He has been hiding for so many years. What he is doing is clear to Mo Shanghua. Now that he is willing to swear with this, he has already taken out all his most important things. Naturally, she has no reason not to believe it. However, she didn't know that if she really wanted to choose the heaviest one in Yen Beiqing's heart, she would be the only one. But how could he be willing to take her to swear? Yen North City droops the mu to settle of looking at Mo Shang flower nervous appearance. Can't help a long arm stretch, embrace her into own bosom, eyes lightly close up. Have you this words, just enough? Emo Shanghua raised her eyes and looked at him. She saw that he was gently knocking his eyes, soft and peaceful. She had never seen it before. However, there was a little joy in her heart. Thinking about it, she gently raised her hands to encircle Yen Beiqing's lean waist, but when she was about to touch his body, her hands stopped again, and her fingertips bent slightly. She still felt a little uncomfortable. Yen Beiqing seemed to feel her movements in general, and saw that she was hesitant. He directly raised his hand, grabbed her hand and pressed it on his waist, and began to laugh low. Emo Shanghua's cheeks suddenly turned red. She bit her lip and buried her head in Yen Beiqing's hard chest. Yen Beiqing gently rubbed her soft and smooth black hair with big hands, and her lips melted into a soft color, soft and gentle, just like a soft white cotton wadding. For a long time, Yen Beiqing just slightly restrained the smile on his face, and his face was slightly Sue. I received the latest information. The head of the Wu family has sent someone to come here. It's for Wu Cheng's sake. Now this matter has been introduced into the imperial city. Emo Shanghua retreated from Yen Beiqing's bosom, his face slightly coagulated. How can it be so fast? Although the state of the moon and the kingdom of God are adjacent, the place where the Wu family's lineage is located is the capital of the state of the moon. How can the capital of the state of the moon arrive at Yuzhou so soon? And the news from the imperial city is even more amazing. Yen North City lip corner slightly picked up an arc, the eyebrows cold and hard. Yuzhou City's eyeliner far more than you think. In the dark, I do not know how much hidden. No need to wait for the countryside, there is movement. The news has been handed to the emperor. I can't help but sink a little bit. I think in a few days, the emperor there will come under the will. Yen Beiqing nodded slightly, raised his hand and gently pinched the white and greasy cheek of the flower on the road. However, you don't have to worry too much. I'll handle this matter well. At present, you just need to have a rest in the house for a few days. You don't have to worry about the bandits in Yuzhou City. Emo Shanghua raised his hand and caught him pinching his hand on his cheek. Lu Mei could not help but frown. Although it's right that the city inspector arrived, Yen Zhenxuan is now ill. How can we mention the banditry? Yuzhou bandits are so rampant, how can we wait for him to get better? At that time, I'm afraid Yuzhou had been robbed by bandits, and only the roots and weeds were left. Yen Beiqing shakes his hand, and his broad sleeve robe immediately blows like a breeze. It blows for a moment before it falls down again. He stood in front of the flowers on the street and said, "But what does Zhao Wei do? The emperor sent him to protect Yen Zhenxuan?" Emo Shanghua's eyes turned slightly, and he knew vaguely in his heart, "What do you mean, let Zhao Wei come out to suppress the bandits?" Yen Beiqing stood up and said, "Yuzhou lost so many troops in order to pacify the rebellion in Anzhou. Where can we spare forces to pacify the bandits in Yuzhou? But the bandits are so rampant that we have to trouble General Zhao." After a pause, he said, "Besides, this should also be the purpose of Zhao Wei's visit. Even if we don't mention it, he will naturally speak. The flower on the street has a delicate chin, but the look inside the eyes is very clear. Yes, Yuzhou is also the territory of the Kingdom of God, and it is located at the border. It can be regarded as a frontier fortress. If these bandits are allowed to ignore, it is equivalent to putting the Kingdom of God in the tiger's mouth. The emperor should not only take care of it, but also take good care of it. It's natural." Yen Beiqing nodded gently, and there was no worry in his eyes. Emo Shanghua paced in the hall for a few steps, then turned around and looked at Yen Beiqing. "By the way, I think I'd better deal with Wu Cheng personally." Yen Beiqing's soared eyebrows slightly frowned. Before he spoke, he saw her saying, "This matter is aimed at me. Naturally, it's aimed at me. Naturally, it's inconvenient for you to deal with it for me. You can rest assured that I can deal with it." Emo Shanghua's appearance, Yen Beiqing's heart is also clear. She is not everything to others to deal with the weak woman, so he did not force. "Good, but if there is anything can't deal with, just come to me." Although Yen Zhenxuan is ill, Zhao Wei and others have come all the way. This dinner party should be set up anyway. As for the reception banquet, we can wait for Yen Zhenxuan to get well and make a big show. After all, Yen Beiqing is a famous dandy. Naturally, this dinner is also held. Good wine, delicious food, singing and dancing are all indispensable. All the masters of the mansion as well as some officials of Yuzhou also came to the banquet. Even Pingji, who had just been released from the ban, also came to the banquet dressed up in colorful costumes. Such a banquet, Emo Shanghua only feel boring, but as her identity, still had to dress up, dignified sitting on the side of Yen Beiqing, occasionally insert 2 words. Yenbei City is holding a glass, some with no one with Zhao Wei politely. Pingji hasn't seen Yenbei City for a long time. Looking at Yenbei City sitting at the top, she doesn't have any feelings for him, but thinking of the wealth she wants in her heart, she raises her hand to trim her forehead, holds her wine glass, and walks forward with a graceful twist of her waist. Lord. With a soft voice, Yen Beiqing was bored, but he turned his head with a smile. Pingji took a few steps forward with her wine glass. Her eyes looked at the flowers on the side of Yenbei City. She said with a smile, "My lord, I haven't been able to serve you well these days. I'm very upset. I'm here to propose a toast. I hope the Lord will drink this cup. Otherwise, I can't be stable." Emo Shanghua just didn't see it. She turned her head and told Qinya in a low voice. Yen Beiqing didn't seem to know Pingji's careful thinking. With a smile on his lips, he squeezed the wine cup in front of him and said, "Since my concubine has such a mind, I can't help her." With that, he drank the wine directly. In her heart, Pingji raised her hand to cover her face with her sleeve and drank all the wine in the cup. Yen Beiqing drank the wine in the cup, but he did not forget to pour the wine over Ali with a smile. As expected, there was no wine left in the cup. When Pingji saw this, she was a little more daring. She handed the wine to the maid behind her and walked to Yenbei City with her skirt. "Lord, let me serve you." Zhao Weiduan sat at the bottom of his head. Seeing this, he couldn't help laughing. He covered his eyes and thought deeply. He only said, "Your Highness is very lucky. There are so many beautiful concubines in the mansion, and each of them is so virtuous. In this far place, it can be regarded as the life of a couple." The words in front are just words of admiration, but the words in the back have another meaning. Yen Beiqing was clear in his heart, but he didn't seem to understand. He said with a smile, "Where?" As soon as the voice fell, a man dressed as a young man rushed in. "Lord, spy just came out of the city. Now the bandits in Yuzhou have become more and more rampant. A group of bandits even robbed a village directly in broad daylight. It seems that the country of the moon has also received news. The situation in the neighboring areas of the 2 countries has begun to get worse." Why is it difficult for him to be a little moon country and dare to violate our border? Yen Beiqing was half nervous about such an important military newspaper, and his face was full of disapproval. Next to Zhao Wei is immediately clap a case and rise, full of angry face. "They dare? You people are good at business." In Zhao Wei's eyes, you people are just a group of ordinary people who can only hold an abacus. How can they compare with his magnificent kingdom? How dare they break the border easily? Emo Shanghua drooped his eyes and thought for a moment. His eyes were cool and he said, "If you have something to do, it's hard to guarantee that the people of the Moon Kingdom won't use the excuse to play." Zhao Wei face puzzled looked to Emo Shanghua. "What Wuqing thing?" Not waiting for Emo Shanghua to speak, when he arrived at Yen Beiqing, he was ignored. A thorough Pingji turned his eyes and said sarcastically, "When General Zhao first arrived in Yuzhou, he naturally didn't know that Wuqing was the richest man in Yuegua. That day, he died in the place where the princess went to encircle and suppress bandits." With that, she covered her lips with a handkerchief and said with a smile, "Now, everyone in the city knows it. Naturally, the rumors are spreading all over the world." Presumptuous. As soon as his voice fell, he saw that Yen Beiqing, who had just been in full bloom, had a heavy face and put his wine glass on the table. This matter is still under investigation. You can talk about it at will. Are there any rules? Pingji's face suddenly turned white. She quickly got up and went around the seat of Yenbei City. She knelt down at the bottom of the head, and her face was full of grievances. I'm sorry, but I haven't said much. Why is the Lord so excited? Mo Shanghua got up and walked to Pingji. She looked at her with a smile in her eyes. Pingji, I remember that you were punished for bumping into the princess yesterday. How come you just recovered today, and then you came here alive and ready to take revenge? Pingji clenched her teeth and leaned over to touch the ground with her head. My lord, I really don't mean to be with you. I hope you can see clearly. It's fashionable to ban people's feet. Now, as soon as you come out, the house is full of smoke. Go back quickly. Don't disgrace Basic Wang here. Yen North City sees this. A face impatiently waved a hand. The boar inside the mouth is not to conceal at all. Pingji was more and more aggrieved in her heart. She flattened her mouth and said, Lord. Before the voice fell, the voice of the young man's high voice came out of the door. Yen Beiqing and others are all surprised. Looking to the door, Yen Zhenxuan's disease is not a few days. How did it get better so soon? However, since people have come, they naturally have to meet a little bit. When Yen Beiqing and others see this, they all come down from the seats to show their courtesy. Don't you mean that the body of the 13 younger brother needs to be raised for some time? Why did he come here again? Yen North City face do worried. Will Yen Zhenxuan up and down a look, is very concerned about the inquiry. I just want to live up to you. Yen Zhenxuan held his hands slightly, covered his lips and coughed softly. He said, but I just stopped at the gate of the hall for a while. I don't know that the bandits in Yuzhou are so rampant now. It said that I've been standing outside the hall for so long, but I didn't mention Pingji at all. It seems that my attention is all focused on the bandits, and I'm not interested in the others. However, Pingji, still kneeling on the ground, quietly raised her eyes and looked at Yen Zhenxuan, who was clear, handsome, and gentle. She quickly scratched something in her eyes. She was busy and lowered her head. She thought she was going down the slope and quietly returned to her position. Your Highness is not well. You'd better sit down first. Mo Shanghua only glanced at the cheeky Pingji, who continued to sit down and had no intention to talk with her. Thank you for your concern. Yen Zhenxuan Lian Mao Light returned a sentence. A few people this just successively settled down. Brother 13, since you have just heard that Yuzhou is now almost eaten by the bandits. In the last Anzhou rebellion, I worked hard and made money, but now I'm broke. It's good to keep the stability of Yuzhou City. This bandit is not that I don't want to rule, but I'm not strong enough. As soon as he sat down, Yen Beiqing looked at Yen Zhenxuan with a sad face, and he was helpless. Mo Shanghua quietly glanced at Yen Zhenxuan's face and saw that his face was no longer as pale as before. Then he was a little relieved and sighed, cooperating with Yen Beiqing's words. It's not easy for you to say that. Your Highness doesn't know. Some days ago, bandits broke out in this city and robbed many rich people's money. Even the foreign businessmen didn't let go of it. Now those foreign businessmen are forcing me to give an explanation with you as soon as possible. But the military expenditure last time hasn't been paid. How can the palace have any extra money? They tried their best to cry for poverty, and what they said was true. Naturally, Yen Zhenxuan could not refuse. After pondering for a moment, he said, My father and emperor had roughly explained the situation of Yuzhou when I came here, but I didn't expect that it was so serious now, especially that month country is about to move here. Mo Shanghua nodded and said to Yen Zhenxuan, Your Highness is the inspector sent by your majesty. Please make up your mind anyway to save Yuzhou from fire and water. I can't make up my mind. It's just my father's advice. When Yen Zhenxuan saw this, he subconsciously wanted to help him. He stretched out half of his hand, but he immediately took it back. His eyes were a little astringent, and he tried to pretend nothing happened. He said, But when I set out for Yuzhou, the bandits had not been reported. The Ministry of Household only allocated the previous military expenses, and the others didn't give me much. Zhao Wei thought about it for a long time, then stepped forward and said, I heard that the princess has sent someone to arrest the robbers who robbed the rich businessmen and foreign businessmen in the city some time ago. The property should also be recovered. The general doesn't know that although the bandits in the city have been captured, many people in Yuzhou have been looted, and many refugees have emerged. I have discussed with the Lord, and I always want to find a way to save them. Yenbei City quickly nodded, such as pounding garlic. Yes, yes, the king and the princess have already discussed, ready to set up a few porridge sheds outside the city, relief victims. Zhao Wei suddenly stood up, only to feel that it was a strange flower urging him to ask for more money, and said, "Why? When we were halfway to Yuzhou, your majesty had been temporarily ordered to put down the rebellion in Yuzhou, and specially allocated 3,000 elite soldiers to keep up with it. In addition to the 1,000 soldiers who originally escorted the Lord, it was not enough to deal with a group of bandits. After I have calmed down the bandits, the looted things of the common people can be taken back smoothly. Why do you do so much now? I'm afraid it's false to help the people." General Zhao. Yen Zhenchuan doesn't think so and interrupts him. Although his voice is warm and not threatening, Zhao Wei still pauses a little when he hears the speech. Then he goes on, "General Zhao, the emperor's sister-in-law has a point. How can you talk such nonsense?" Zhao Wei, however, was unconvinced and retorted, "Even so, before, money was needed for relief in Anzhou, and the state treasury was already tight. If you come to Yuzhou, your majesty may not approve it. Maybe you will get a reprimand yourself." Yen Zhenchuan shook his head gently. His eyes were still warm. He could not see any anger. He was only worried. He lowered his eyebrow and thought for a moment. Fong said, "Yuzhou is just in need of some money to relieve the victims. If the emperor is willing, I might as well write a letter and ask the account department to borrow money for the time being. It's good to make up for it next year. In this way, we don't have to disturb our father." "Your Highness, this." Zhao Wei frowned more tightly and jumped out to oppose. Before Zhao Wei spoke, Yen Zhenchuan directly interrupted him. "General Zhao, my father always said that the people are the foundation of our country. Now if we can't control this book well, my father will be really angry if he knows. But if he did, it would be that the emperor did not say it. How could he not be annoyed to see him?" Mo Shanghuan never thought that Yen Zhenchuan was willing to make such a decision for their sake. Naturally, Yenbei City can't wait for it. How much military expenditure did the emperor allocate this time? He knew for a long time that it was not enough to recruit more troops. If he didn't find a way to deduct more troops from the household department, could his secret guards with less than 500 soldiers be able to use them in the future? Besides, at that time, whether Yuzhou's soldiers and horses will listen to his orders is another question. However, he did not expect that Yen Zhenchuan stopped Zhao Wei's words, but Mo Shanghua suddenly said, "Your Highness, you can't do this." Although it's good for them, she really doesn't want to implicate Yen Zhenchuan. After all, it's a matter of Yuzhou, which makes the people suffer. It's the incompetence of me and the Lord. We can't let you be implicated because of us. It's just a matter for the Lord to play more to His Majesty." Seeing this, Zhao Wei quickly echoed, "Your Highness, since the princess doesn't want you to interfere more, I think you'd better mind your own business. This General Zhao is too straightforward to say anything." The flower on the street murmurs, and looks at Yen Zhenchuan like nothing. As expected, he looks a little bit cool. He stares at General Zhao and says, "General Zhao." Zhao Wei realized later that he seemed to have made a mistake again. He was too busy to speak. Since Huang's sister-in-law and Huang's brother have their own way, it's not convenient for me to interfere more. Yen Zhenchuan gently hooked his lips and said with a warm smile, "As for the bandits in Yuzhou, don't worry. Tomorrow morning, General Zhao will go to suppress the bandits, which will ensure the peace of Yuzhou. Wang Yi, Your Highness, please rest assured. Although Zhao Wei has never been on the battlefield for many years, I dare not forget the way of marching and using troops. There are only a few bandits. Within half a month, I will surely bring down all the bandits in Yuzhou." Zhao Wei has been stationed in the capital all these years, and usually only trains soldiers. Now he has a chance to show his fists. He is naturally excited. However, some bandits have only 2,000 elite soldiers, and he can still uproot them. If not for their scattered distribution, he would be able to settle the matter early. After the matter was settled, Zhao Wei naturally went out of the city to suppress the bandits according to the agreement the next day. As for Yen Zhenxuan, he was not in good health, so he could not go to fight and kill. The matter of Wu Cheng has not been settled yet, so we can put it down for a while, but the matter of recruiting soldiers cannot be delayed. Yen Zhenxuan, as an inspector, originally came here to supervise this matter. He had to take a look at the recruitment. His status is noble, no more than others. If he followed to the recruiting place, Mo Shanghua Yanbei City will also accompany with him. However, Mo Jiang sent people to talk in the crowd for a long time, but no one came to apply for the job. On the contrary, rumors kept on. After listening to the generous words of the recruiter, a young man's heart was boiling with enthusiasm. He was about to sign up, but he was grabbed by the people around him. Don't go there in a hurry. Look, isn't the short man dressed up next to him Princess Yu? She's the most poisonous woman in the city. If you go, you'll be under his nose in the future. You won't feel well in the future. Please don't go. It's the same as jumping into the fire pit. That's right. Don't forget how the foreign businessmen in Yuegwa died. Didn't they offend her in the palace that day? After listening for a while, Mo Shanghua saw that the person who had been speaking in the middle of the crowd seemed to have heard the remarks of the people around him. His face became more and more embarrassed. He could not help but retreat and looked at Mo Jiang in embarrassment. General, this. Mo Jiang twisted his sword eyebrows into his temples, took his sword in another hand, and said, I'm changing some words. Go on. It's not the time for the whole nation to recruit soldiers. If the people who should serve in the army are forced to do so, they are afraid that they will be discontented. At present, they can't, so they can only recruit according to their will. The person in charge of recruiting and agitating was originally a military strategist. He was good at this at ordinary times. However, after listening to Mo Jiang's words, he could not help hesitating. General, at the moment, my subordinates have said all the good things. What else can I say? Between the words, we can see the meaning of complaining. Yen Beiqing sat in the temporary pavilion beside him and said, I'm really surprised. When I was in Anzhou, I saw you talking so skillfully. Why are you so depressed now? If there's nothing to say, I don't want to be a military advisor. The military strategist felt more bitter in his heart, but he didn't dare to complain anymore. He leaned down and said, my subordinates don't dare. I'll say something else. Then he quickly stepped forward and thought about it for a long time. Then he reconsidered his words and continued his speech. Mo Shanghua and Yen Zhenxuan sat together for 2 or 3 hours in the temporary pavilion for them to have a cool rest. Until the sun set, there were only 5 or 6 people in Mo Jiang's list. Lord, we have been here for 2.5 hours. Do you want to continue? Mo Jiang looks at Yen Beiqing, who is frowning and looking at the list. He is also worried in his heart. Mo Shanghua took over the list from Yen Beiqing and looked at it, then looked at the sky. At present, there is still an hour to go before dinner. Even the onlookers have changed wave after wave. I'm afraid there won't be any result when I stay here. When I'm about to refuse, I see Yen Zhenxuan pulling, with some morbid white lips, whispering, wait for half an hour. Mo Jiang heard the words, and answered them without waiting for Yen Beiqing's reply. He went to tell the military advisor a few more words. As Yen Zhenxuan's personal servant, Chen Kong can't help leaning over and whispering in his ear, Your Highness, you are not in good health. You have been watching for so long before you have recruited so many people. Why do you have to say that you have found yourself guilty? I see. Why don't we go back first? Yen Zhenxuan shook his head, a calm and gentle color on his face, could not see the slightest impatience. Words have been out, they cannot be recovered. Let them wait. You can go back first. Otherwise, how can you stand it? Chen Kang's eyebrows and eyes were stained with a bit of resentment, and said, Look, This good recruitment is all done by the Princess Yu. No one can get it. Even if you sit down, it's useless. Although his voice is small, he is a martial arts practitioner in Huayan Beiqing, and his hearing is always better than others. Naturally, he never loses a word. Even Emo Jiang standing in front of him clearly hears it, but he just doesn't hear it. He looks at the crowd without expression. Yen Zhenchuan's eyes flashed over the delicate cheek of Emo Shanghua. His eyebrows wrinkled slightly. He turned his head and said, "Chen Kong, you've been impolite, and you don't want to make amends to Huang Sa." Chen Kong bowed his head and turned away reluctantly. He bowed to the flowers on the street and said, "I've just offended the princess. I hope the princess won't worry about me." Emo Shanghua glanced at him and frowned. It seemed that he was angry because of his bad attitude. He just looked at his face and didn't care much. He just waved his hand, "Get up." The boy got up and retreated to Yen Zhenchuan again. Yen Beiqing's eyes fell on the boy and said, "Brother 13, I'm looking at you. You've been standing here for a long time and you're tired. Why don't you give him a seat and wait with us so that you won't be tired?" Chen Kang's face suddenly changed, and he looked to Yen Zhenchuan for help. Yen Zhenchuan frowned more tightly, but his words were still soft and gentle. "Brother Huang is serious, he just saw that I should take the medicine, so he said a few words." After a pause, he looked at Chen Kong and said, "You don't need to go back to take the medicine. Now go back and get it. Remember to come back as soon as possible." Yes. Chen Kong knew that Yen Zhenchuan was trying to get rid of the siege for himself. He was relieved and went on in a hurry. Yen Beiqing took a cool look at the little boy who was running away. He was about to say something, so he was pulled by the flower on the street. Then he changed his voice and said, "Since he is the 13th brother, the emperor brother has nothing to say." Emo Shanghua just moved her eyes and was about to take the teacup on one side of the table to drink tea. Suddenly, a strange middle-aged man's voice came from the crowd. "Princess Yu is so elegant and cheerful. Yu Zhou has killed and injured people. There is still time to taste tea here." The flower eyebrow heart on the street is a slight frown at first, and then ease to open, in the heart to the person who is, already had the preparation, this just don't hurry not slow of will Mao light toward the direction that the voice spreads. I saw a middle-aged man with smart and thin eyes, dressed in silk, walking out of the crowd, followed by several well-dressed young men in brocade. As soon as he came out, the light of his eyes went directly over several people around him and fell on the flower of the street. He was half afraid, half cautious, and a little disgusted and resentful. "This goal is so obvious," just said the words is so sharp, this moment, instantly attracted the attention of the people. People's eyes suddenly all fell on the flower and his body, in two people back and forth walking. Before the flowers on the street got up, the teacups in their hands were sent to their lips to drink as usual, and then they spoke slowly. "Can't you drink tea when you are thirsty? But you don't know who you are and why you are making such a noise here?" The man stepped forward a few steps, first took a look at Yen Beiqing, then his eyes flashed over Yen Zhenchuan. Then he said, "I'm a Wu, the head of the Wu family in Yuegua. Wu Qing is my second brother, who died in vain in Yuzhou a few days ago. I'm here to seek justice for my brother." People around the theater suddenly burst the pot, one by one like to see something new in general, stretched their necks to see. He's clear-cut and his words are not impolite. He's much better than Wu Cheng. No wonder he's the leader of the Wu family. Emo Shanghua secretly pays attention to Wu Ru's words and deeds and turns a blind eye to the comments of the people around him. Yen Zhenchuan's brows suddenly wrinkled as soon as he eased. He didn't want to be criticized by the people here. He said, "Mr. Wu is polite, but this is not a place to discuss things. According to our temple, you might as well follow us back to the palace first, and then come to investigate the matter. Before discussing the matter, you should first look at your brother's remains." Wu Ru inquired about the news long before he was about to enter the city. Looking at Yen Zhenchuan's appearance, he guessed his identity. He was a little worried, nodded slightly, and said, "This is the 13th Highness of the Kingdom of God. I think you don't know something. It's not that I don't want to give you face, but I'm worried." Before he finished speaking, Emo Shanghua directly interrupted him and said, I think Master Biwu is worried that you are not familiar with your life and land. When you come to the palace, you will be manipulated and unfairly handled. In that case, please follow me to the city yamen to redress your grievances. After a pause, her eyes swept through the crowd. People can watch in the yamen. There are people here. I think Master Wu should be relieved now. Wu Ru was a little surprised to see Emo Shanghua. He never thought that Emo Shanghua would say that. In this way, does it not seem that she is magnanimous and he is narrow-minded? Thinking about this, he turned his eyes to Yan Beiqing, who was sitting on one side with a relaxed look. He immediately realized his identity, thought about it, and said, Is it true that women are the masters of the kingdom of God? He thought Yan Beiqing would be angry, but he just changed his hand and continued to support his chin. When he was free, his hand was very boring, playing with the tea set on the table, as if he had not heard him at all. Wu Ru's face was filled with embarrassment. The flower on the street glanced at him and said coolly, What about women? After that, without waiting for his reply, he got up and said, Let's go. When you get to the yamen, you can tell me any grievances. I will certainly give you back. Please give you justice. Wu Ru was a little embarrassed and annoyed. He pinched his palm and depressed his mood. I just want justice. As for the form, it depends on the princess. So let's move. Emo Shanghua nodded slightly and then got up to go forward first, while Yan Beiqing and others followed. When they arrived at the yamen, they explained to the magistrate in the yamen. Yan Zhenxuan and Yan Beiqing sat on the court again. As the people involved in the matter, Emo Shanghua and Wu Ru stood at the bottom of the court together and said, Your Highness is the inspector sent by the imperial city just people. For the sake of fairness, let's go down from the temple and make decisions. Wu Ru didn't have words, so he was acquiescent. Yan Zhenxuan's smell speech, the face is gentle slightly gnawed. This temple will be fair. At this time, outside the court, the crowd had already been surrounded by layers of people. All the people stretched their necks to watch the show. Yan Beiqing took a cup of tea and sat on one side. His body was very loose. He leaned lazily on the back of his chair and yawned, Princess, hurry up. Now it's time to have dinner. I'm hungry. Don't delay because of this. Emo Shanghua turned a white eye in her heart. There were not too many ups and downs on her face. She looked sideways at Wu Ru. Master Wu, please say. Wu Ru came forward and looked ahead. It's about my brother Wu Cheng. I think you've heard about it. The man sent by the palace said that he was killed by the bandits and died of poison. But it's not the case when he came back with my brother Wu Cheng. With that, he glanced at the young man in the royal guards who was following him. The young man came over and quickly turned around. He called one of the young men who followed Wu Ru. He came forward and looked at the flowers in the street. He really looked familiar. It should be Wu Cheng's personal servant. This man is my second brother's personal servant. He knows the situation of my second brother's death that day best. Wu Ru used his chin to point the little fellow, but his eyes were on the flowers. Now, let him talk about what he saw that day. Yes. The young man knelt down in the hall, bowed his head and said, A while ago, I followed the second master to pass by Yuzhou City. Originally, I just stopped here for a while. Unexpectedly, there were bandits in Yuzhou and took away all our belongings. The second master was so angry that he went to the palace with other foreign businessmen to seek justice. I didn't expect Princess Yu to admit that she was someone else and had a holiday. Before long, Princess Yu was very angry. He also gave the second master a box of gold, and then drove the second master out of Yuzhou City overnight. After a pause, she raised her eyes and looked at the flowers on the street. Then she said, I just didn't expect that. Not long after we left the city, we met the group of bandits last time and were robbed by them again. At this time, Princess Yu suddenly led her soldiers to catch the group of bandits and sent officers and soldiers to catch the second master. But I didn't expect that, but the second master suddenly died. He fell to the ground and died. Later, the second master's body was detained in the palace by Princess Yu, but the slaves couldn't see it. Mo Shanghua quietly looked at the boy, thinking in his heart. When he spoke, he was clear-cut and didn't panic at all. He explained the cause and effect, but he didn't say that Wu Qing had a festival with Mo Shanghua. I'm afraid that Wu Ru told him to avoid making too many mistakes. Wu Ru and the others waited for him to finish. Then he stepped forward and looked at Yan Zhenchuan. Your Highness, all these things can show that Princess Yu is harmful to my brother. My brother always makes friends with others. Apart from offending Princess Yu after entering Yuzhou, she has no other enemy at all. She is the most likely one to do it alone. Before Yan Zhenchuan opened his mouth, Yan Beiqing, who seemed to be careless, suddenly spouted all the tea out of his mouth, which attracted people's attention. Even the people in the hall looked at him. Seeing all the people looking at him, Yan Beiqing's smile showed no sign of concealing. He wiped the water stains on his lips and said with a smile, "It's not my fault, but the words of Wu Ru are very interesting. It's like my king had a conflict with a man who only met him a few days ago, and he died in an accident the next day. You don't rush to find evidence to find out the cause of death, but you don't have to worry about it because I have had a quarrel with him. I am sure that I killed him. Should I say that he is stupid or stupid?" The corner of the lips of the flower on the street can't help but gently curl up, and the eyebrows and eyes are dyed with a smile. Yan Zhenchuan also some can't help laughing but still forced to suppress a smile. "Wei, the emperor brother said is good, you so doubt really not right." The muscle on Wu Ru's face twitched a little. He was not happy and said, "I haven't finished my words yet. How does King Yu know that I'm from an empty hole?" Say, he lips cape treacherous light hook a few minutes, turn round to see to oneself after death of close body small c. The little guy immediately knew that he was busy and went down. After a while, he came back to Wu Ru with a wooden box in his hands. The little guy seemed to be afraid of something, and his hand with the wooden box was specially padded with hemp cloth, as if some fatal poison had been smeared on the wooden box. "Look, everyone." Wu Ru twisted a piece of brocade cloth towel in his hand. He thought that the towel would open the wooden box, and the neat gold in the wooden box suddenly appeared. "This gold was given by Princess Yu when she drove my second brother out of the city. It was said that it was as compensation that the bandits could not recover. This gold seems to be no different, but after my inspection, I found that the gold was smeared with poison. Boys, it is also said that the second younger brother himself took the gold to check the number. I think it must have something to do with the death of my second younger brother." His eyes suddenly turned cold, and his words pointed to the flowers on the street. "And this box of gold was sent by Princess Yu himself. Who can touch the gold besides her? What's more, if my second younger brother was really injured and killed by the robbers, why did the house of King Yu hold my second younger brother's body to prevent the boys from seeing him? There must be a ghost in it. If you don't believe it, you can invite more doctors to see if the gold surface has been smeared with poison." Yan Zhenchuan's smell speech, eyebrows slightly congealed, turned Mao to look to the Mo Shanghua. "This matter also can't all depend on you one person's words. Huang Sa, what do you want to say?" "Of course I have something to say." Mo Shanghua stood up without hesitation. There was no panic in her eyes, and her red lips opened slightly. "Wu Cheng is not a man of the kingdom of God, and his identity is different in the kingdom of the moon. If something happened to him, his body should be preserved by the palace. If not, how can I explain to you then? Is there any other family's rule that when the master dies, the servants must watch the remains?" Wu Ru choked. Unexpectedly, Mo Shanghua was so eloquent that he said, "But gold is poisonous. How can you explain it? You don't have to say that this poison is from us. I heard before I came here that Princess Yu is the best at medical treatment, so it's not difficult for you to make it. Who told you that if you are good at medicine, you will make drugs?" The top of the eyebrows on the street was slightly raised, and the corners of the lips were slightly mocking. "Why don't you invite all the doctors in the city and ask them, how many of them are drug makers? The difference between the two techniques, one killing and the other saving, must be known as soon as you hear it." Yen Beicheng took the handkerchief and wiped the water stains on his body. Although he didn't open his mouth, his deep eyes also wrote a bit of ridicule. He only sighed that the martial arts scholar was just so stupid. His princess was smart. He really cherished money when dealing with such a stupid person. Yen Zhenxuan looked at the flowers on the street, and he was shocked. If she is really not what she used to be, and her actions are so clear and bold, if she is what she used to be, she will only die to prove her innocence. After making such a low-level mistake, Wu Ru blushed a little and said, "That's right. You can't deny the poison on the gold. I've asked several doctors to identify it. The poison didn't exist in the past 2 days. It must have existed before." Mo Shanghua Mao Guang glanced at the gold in the box and said calmly, "In that case, can you let me identify it?" Wu Ru consciously wanted to be open and aboveboard in front of people, so he didn't mean to refuse. "Naturally, it's okay, but what if you identify it? Is it difficult to understand that the poison on it can disappear?" The implication is that Mo Shanghua might do something about it. Mo Shanghua only glanced at him and said, "I'd like to invite the Imperial Dr. Lu to come and have a look. He's the Imperial Doctor of the Imperial City. His medical skills are obvious to all the people in Yuzhou. There's nothing wrong with him." Wu Ru's eyes swept over the people who were watching outside. Seeing that they were convinced, he thought that they were in another country after all, so he nodded. Seeing this, Mo Shanghua sent Qin Lin to invite Lu Zheng. After a while, he invited Lu Zheng over. Each of the 2 men twisted a piece of gold with his handkerchief and checked it in his hand. For a long time, the flower on the street just gave a smile and raised her eyes to Lu Zheng's eyes, which were also invisible. The smile on her lips was deeper, and the people who looked directly at her were puzzled. But Mo Shanghua was not in a hurry to explain. She put the gold back, wiped her hands with a handkerchief, and then slowly said, "The gold has been smeared with poison. It's true." Wu Ru heard the speech, but he didn't feel very happy. On the contrary, he was worried and looked at her tightly. I saw that the voice of Mo Shanghua, who had just said half of it, turned, "But this poison is not a deadly poison. The toxicity is relatively mild. Even if it is smeared on the gold surface, it is not enough to kill people." Then, as if to prove her words, she twisted a piece of gold in her palm without any precautions, and glanced at the boy who had talked before. "Unless there is a wound on her hand, the poison can't corrode the human body." The boy shrunk his neck and took a look at Wu Ru's face. He saw his face was heavy and his eyes turned. He quickly raised his voice and said, "I remember that the master was in a bad mood the day before Princess you sent the gold. He smashed many porcelains and hurt his hands carefully. Maybe he was poisoned in this way." The mockery in Hua Mao's eyes was even more serious. He looked down at the young man. Wu Cheng's body was examined when it was just delivered. It was poisoned. It's good. It's consistent with the poison on the gold, but if he has injuries on his hands. After a pause, her eyes glared fiercely. "When I did the test a few days ago, I didn't see it at all. Your speech changed so fast. When I said it might be because of the injury on my hand, I immediately changed my tongue. I see that you clearly have a ghost." The boy was flustered and turned to Wu Ru. "Master, I dare not lie. This princess, is a pure frame-up." Seeing this, Wu Ru glared at the boy and continued, "He has been with his second brother for many years and will never do it. I think he is wrong. What's more, it's not the time to talk about this. Even if my second brother could not have died of contacting the gold, how can the poison on the gold be explained? Ask your people." Mo Shanghua glanced faintly and knelt down on the ground. He was a little boy with a pale face. "You might as well think about it. Although I have a character of revenge, I knew from the beginning that Xiao Wuqing had a special status in the Moon Kingdom. If he had something wrong in the Kingdom of God and broke the diplomatic relations between the 2 countries, even the king could not protect me. Why did I make such a mistake?" Wu Ru narrowed his eyes and lips. Seeing this, the young man quickly pulled the hem of Wu Ru's robe and said, "Master, you can't believe what this woman said. The second master said before he was alive that this woman is eloquent and can bewitch people. What I said just now is true. I dare not adulterate half of it. There are a lot of people outside watching. If Mo Shanghua orders people to pull down this little guy, he will be criticized. This little guy is bold and reckless, even Yen Zhenxuan and others frown. Mo Shanghua's face didn't change at all. She continued, besides, how stupid am I to make a move on the things I send? What's more, there are many loopholes in the gold poisoning. It is clear that someone deliberately framed it. No matter from any aspect, I think it is someone who deliberately wants to destroy the diplomatic relations between the two countries and make profits from them. This guy may be a gap between other countries. As she spoke, her eyes suddenly sank, and she turned to look at Yen Zhenxuan. Your Highness, Lord, I think we should immediately send someone to search this little guy's room in the post station. Maybe we can find some clues now. If it's true, as my sister-in-law speculated, it's the most important thing. Naturally, we need to thoroughly investigate it. Yen Zhenxuan nodded, obviously had been convinced by his words. Brother, this is your fiefdom. People naturally should be assigned by you. Yen Beiqing straightened the wrinkles on his clothes, and then raised his eyes. There was an angry look between his eyes. There was someone trying to frame the princess under my eyes. I can't forgive him easily. Come and explore the post station quickly. Let alone this guy's room. The whole post station should be searched carefully. After a pause, he glanced at the boy and said, this man's words and deeds are suspicious. Maybe there is something hidden in him. Search him as well. At the end of the speech, because Yen Beiqing and other people's arrival can only wait for the Yamen officials on one side to hurry up and repeat. The Yamen officers in the Yamen hurry up. Some people go to a light to search, and some people directly take the little guy to the ground and search him impolitely. After a short time, he went back to the hall to recover his life. He had a few banknotes in his hand. Besides, there was nothing else. Mo Shanghua took those banknotes and looked at them. When he saw the amount above, there were waves on his face. Then he showed all the banknotes in front of the crowd. You see, this is a whole 2,000 taels of banknotes. How long can a little guy save so many banknotes without eating or drinking? The boy's face suddenly changed, and he knelt down and straightened himself, regardless of the messy clothes he had just been turned over by the Yamen servants. It's not my thing, master. I'm wronged. Shut up. Wu Ru was in a bad mood when he was refuted by Mo Shanghua. Seeing that the boy was so noisy, he couldn't help yelling. Then he looked at Mo Shanghua and said, what princess you said is really reasonable. I'm afraid it's not enough. The flower on the street smiles a little, but there is no smile between her eyebrows. Master Wu, don't worry. The person who went to search hasn't come back yet. Just then, the Yamen officers who had been sent out to search the post station also came back. One of them presented a neatly folded oil paper. The oil paper was not the size of a palm, which was similar to the oil paper used by Mozhang Huaping. There was nothing suspicious in the post station, only this one was hidden in the book under the corner of the table. On the street, Hua Qingcong took the oil paper and opened it slowly. Not surprisingly, what was wrapped in the oil paper was a white powder, but only a little bit less than the size of a thumb was left. Although we had not identified what it was, people knew it in their hearts. The boy turned pale and sat down on the ground, forgetting to complain. Mo Shanghua did not personally check what the powder was, but turned the powder to Lu Zheng. Lu Zheng took the powder and examined it carefully. Then he stepped forward and said, Your Highness, Lord, this is the poison in Wuqing. Seeing the result, Yen Zhenxuan breathed a sigh of relief and turned to Yen Beiqing. Brother Huang, in this case, it's up to you to decide this case. However, this case is so important. I still want to write to my father and emperor, and I will surely find out the thief behind the attempt to destroy the diplomatic relations between the two countries. Naturally. Yen Beiqing immediately nodded as if he was pounding garlic, and just finished, he looked at the flowers on the street again. Princess, look and do it. I've been sitting for such a long time. I'm hungry and dizzy. I really don't have much energy. Don't worry, Your Highness. Mo Shanghua nodded slightly, then turned her eyes to Wu Ru. Master Wu, you also heard that this matter is not just a personal complaint between you and me. This matter is related to the diplomatic affairs between the two countries. This person should be handed over to us to deal with, and the person in charge of Wu Cheng's death should be the person who wants to stir up the fight between the two countries behind it. Wu Ru was not as impulsive and brainless as Wu Cheng. He knew that there was no room for him to return. He immediately recognized the facts and said, "In this case, I hope the princess can find out the culprit as soon as possible, so that my second brother can know about it and be able to close his eyes." After a pause, he leaned down slightly and bowed his hand to the flower on the street. "I believed this villain wrongly and wronged the princess. I hope the princess will not care with me. Those who don't know are innocent. Master Wu, please get up." Mo Shanghua Su helped Wu Ru, but he didn't mean to blame him. "Just a little bit. This matter is very important, and it's no longer within my jurisdiction. I think the emperor will send someone to investigate this matter in a few days. Although you can rest assured, the emperor will surely give you an explanation." However, after a few words, he successfully threw the pot to others, which made Wu Ru choke. He said with a dry smile, "Yes, thank you for your hard work." As the voice fell, he seemed to think of something and then said, "Since the matter here has come to an end for the time being, can the princess take me to see my second brother's body? That's my brother, after all. I always want to take him back to his roots. I'm going to fulfill the Master Wu's wishes." The flower on the street gave a faint smile. She took a look among the people who were talking about it outside the government office. She turned her eyes and said, "It's just that the Lord is also lacking. You'd better go back to the palace with us. I'll take you to see the body of the second master of the Wu family." "Thank you." The Confucianists have no different words, and their words are respectful and polite. When they went out from the main gate, the crowd who had gathered outside the yamen spontaneously retreated to both sides for them to pass. From the crowd through the extreme, Mo Shanghua vaguely heard that these people who originally had malice against her and were ashamed of her had changed their words. "I don't think the princess is as bad as everyone said. The manner of solving the case is very powerful. I'm afraid the ordinary county magistrate can't match it." "Don't mention it. I'll see it. Besides, the princess is a white girl. She doesn't care about the person who offends him. How can such a thing happen to such a generous person? I think you are all fascinated. You can't judge your appearance. She must have done it for us." Mixed words into the ear, but no change in the color of the flowers, only in the heart quietly thinking, now how to temporarily block the news here. She thought, Yen Sinshuan Yenbei City, two people have been on their respective carriages, but she still stopped under the carriage, did not get on. Seeing her eyes wandering around on the street, Qinya couldn't help looking along her eyes, but didn't find anything strange. She said, "Princess, what are you looking at? The Lord is still waiting for you." Mo Shanghua raised his hand and made a hissing gesture. Mao Guang finally settled in front of a restaurant not far away, which was just opened. He said, "Qinya, come here." Qinya saw that she was serious, so she went to her side and said in a low voice, "Princess, please tell me." Mo Shanghua took out a few silver tickets from her sleeve and put them into Qinya's hands. Then she lowered her voice and gave orders in a voice that only two people could hear. Then she moved the lip from Qinya's ear and said, "If you can't do it yourself, you can call Qin Lin as a helper. This is my token. You can take my token and go back to the house later." Qinya put away the banknote and token, and then blessed herself. She patted her chest and promised, "This is so simple. I can do it alone. Princess, you can rest assured. It's really not difficult." Qinya has spent so long with Mo Shanghua. Mo Shanghua naturally feels at ease with her. Seeing this, she doesn't ask much. She gets on the carriage and leaves with Yen Beiqing. The troops of the royal family have just gone far away, and the people who have just watched are ready to disperse when they see that there is no more excitement to watch. Seeing this, Qinya quickly went to these people, pinched her voice and said, "Wait a minute, wait a minute." She has just been following Emo Shanghua. Naturally, everyone knows that she is Emo Shanghua's maid, so they all stop to see her. However, some people seem not to hear her and ignore her at all. Qinya was a little anxious. She squeezed her hand and sped up her voice. She said, "Ladies and gentlemen, there is a new restaurant in front of us. Our princess wants to invite you all to have a taste. Of course, the wine and food are all paid by our princess. Please do appreciate it." With that, he specially took out the silver note that Emo Shanghua had just given her and shook it in front of the crowd. Such a good thing has never happened in 800 years. These people are just ordinary people. Naturally, they are very happy when they encounter such a good thing. They just feel that they have picked up such a big bargain, and they are busy scrambling to follow them. Even some 100 surnames who were just passing by have hurriedly gathered together to wait for the bargain. Qinya looked at the more and more people gathered. As she pulled a smile, she led everyone to the restaurant. She pinched the silver note in her hand and murmured in a low voice, "What's the idea of the princess? I'm afraid it's going to be a big loss this time." "Madam, the princes and the princesses are back." Shueji's maid stood outside the mansion for a long time, waiting for the news she wanted to wait for. She trotted all the way back to tell him, in addition to her 13 highnesses, there is also an old man who looks at his face. Although her clothes are very expensive, they don't seem to be the clothes of the people of the kingdom of God. She has shallow knowledge and can't tell which country's clothes are. In Shueji's heart, the corners of her lips must be slightly raised. "It doesn't matter. You just need to tell me what the look of the prince and his 13 highness is, and where they went after they came back." His Royal Highness is still as gentle and polite as before, but the maidservant's face seems not very good, so does the princess. The maid raised her eyes and looked at Shueji's face. Then she tentatively said, "I'm looking at where I'm going. I'm going to the hall." "Well, get ready. I'm going to see the Lord. By the way, don't forget to bring the hibiscus powder you bought a few days ago." Shueji answered with a smile. The maid answered and went down to prepare. "Lord, your highness, let's have dinner first. I'll take the master of Wu family to see the body." Before arriving at the hall, Emo Shanghua stopped, left a sentence with a smile, turned his eyes to see Wu Ru, and then turned to leave. Wu Ru saw this and bowed his hands to Yen Zhenchuan in the north city of Yen. Then he went with Emo Shanghua. Emo Shanghua didn't use Lu Zhang's suggestion before, but asked him for the method he used to preserve Yunji's body. He saved Wu Cheng's body for the time being. When Wu Ru saw Wu Cheng's body was still intact. But as soon as Wu Ru saw the body, he rushed to the body and cried, but he didn't care to look around. The flowers in the street were watching. Wu Ru was heartbroken, but he didn't shed tears for a long time. He didn't feel irony in his heart. A big family like the Wu family must have a dispute over property. When Wu Chengsheng was born, I was afraid that it was too late for Wu Ru to hate him. After his death, he acted like this in front of people. Apart from tears, he also pretended to be so like this. It seems that he was really sad. It can be seen that there is no reason why he has been in charge of the Wu family for more than 10 years. Emo Shanghua is still observing Wu Ru's crying, but Shueji is already in Yen Zhenchuan's face. She sincerely asks for love for her. "Mr. Wang, I heard that the master of the Wu family came to me. It seems that it was because of the death of the second master of the Wu family, Wu Cheng?" Snow Ji-fu body line a ceremony. Mao Guang swept in the main hall for a while, on the face immediately exposed a bit of doubt. "How don't see the princess and that Wu family too, master? Could it be that? Have you been convicted and imprisoned?" Yen Beicheng had just sat down and had not yet ordered to pass the meal. He could not help nodding impatiently and said, "Yes." Shueji's face suddenly changed when she heard the words. She quickly admonished her, "My lord, I know that you are in a dilemma, but the princess is your wife after all. No matter how big a mistake she has made, you should also think about the love between husband and wife and be tolerant." Yen Zhenchuan can't help but light frown, some confused looking to Yen Beicheng. Yen Beicheng didn't answer, just like he found something interesting. He leaned back and looked at Shueji quietly. When Shueji saw this, she felt that Yan Beiqing was not moved, as if she had made a decision in her eyes. Beiqi bit her lip and knelt down with her skirt. "My lord, it's all my servant's fault. I'm the second master of the Marshall family. My sister is unjust. If you have to punish me, I'll punish my servant." This matter has been understood, but Shueji is crying here, and all the people in the hall are confused. Especially Yen Sanchuan, but at the same time he was confused, he felt more strange in his heart. After thinking about it, he said, "You are the concubine of the emperor's brother. You said that you did all these things. Do you have any proof?" On one side, Yan Beiqing seemed to be playing with him and said, "I only heard that you were always close to the princess, but I didn't know that when the princess made a mistake, you should try your best to take the next step." His eyebrows seemed casual, but no one could see them. There was a dark color at the bottom of his eyes. "See, Yen Sanchuan want to take out the certificate? Snow Ji Dun Wen a Leng, complexion slightly flustered, maidservant concubine has personally admitted. Do you still need what certificate?" Said, she directly bent over the forehead, deeply buckle on the ground. "Prince, the princess is really innocent. You want to punish the servant concubine one person, servant concubine willing to accept." "Madam Dash," the maid kneeling behind Shueji said. Before she finished, Shueji got up quickly and yelled, "There's no part of your speech here. You'll step down immediately." In this way, nature is particularly attractive. When Yan Beiqing sees this, he can hardly cooperate. Yu says, "Stop and make clear what you just want to say." Smell speech, that maidservant hasn't how, Snow Ji's complexion has already gradually pale up, the blood color on the face faded clean. Seeing this, the maidservant couldn't care more. She straightened up and said angrily, "Wang Yi, that Wu Qing is a foreigner. How can we poison him if our wife doesn't come out of the gate or step out of the gate? It can't be my wife's doing this." Don't believe what she said. She is pleading guilty for others. Shut up and stop talking. Shueji turns around and grabs the maid's arm. She can't help yelling again. It's interesting. Yan Beiqing leaned over the armrest of the chair, supported his chin with one hand, and said with interest, "Shueji, don't interrupt her. I want to hear that you are so painstaking. Who do you want to answer for?" Yen Sanchuan didn't speak, but looking at his expression, what he thought in his heart was roughly the same. With Yan Beiqing's words, the maidservant's waist is more straight, and she is not afraid of Shueji's obstruction. She looks so serious, but she has to say something, but she can't spit it out for a long time. "I beg your pardon." Seems to see the maid's hesitation, Yen Sanchuan is very understanding of the warm voice. The maid then had the confidence and said, "Report back to the prince, your highness, madam, she is just taking the blame for the princess." Then she knelt forward a few steps, pulled up Shueji's arm, rolled up part of her broad sleeve robe, revealing the delicate white skin under the robe. However, on the white skin, there are several scabby wounds, the size of red beans, and several reddish scars. It seems that they were all injured by a kind of utensil. However, only for a moment, Shueji quickly struggled to take back her arm, arranged the position of her sleeve, and said, "Lord, don't listen to the girl's nonsense. Lord, you see, this is what the princess left in our wife's hands." But the maid refused to stop and continued, "Everyone in the house knows that the princess is vicious, and no one dares to be close to the princess. Only Shueji is different. What do you think is the reason? It's not our poor wife who can only rely on the princess in order to protect herself. These injuries are tied by the princess's hairpin when she is not happy. In fact, it has nothing to do with our wife. Before, the princess wanted our wife to help him poison Wu Cheng. When she was rejected by her wife, the princess moved her hand in anger. However, as soon as the matter came to light, she immediately threatened her with her relatives and asked her to help her take the blame. Don't wrongly treat our wife, Lord. The more she said, the more excited she was. By the time she came back, she was very excited. She leaned down and put her forehead on the ground. How can you find all the people? Do you know that you are going to trap me in an unfilial place like this? If there is something wrong with my father and mother. Shueji maidservant all said, the body can't help but gently shaking, biting the pale lips, eyes timid mouth. All the people in the room were staring at the moment, with an unbelievable color on their face. If it wasn't for Yan Beiqing, Yan Zhenxuan would have fried the pot. Yan Zhenxuan stared at the master and servant of Shueji kneeling below for a while. He was a little suspicious in his eyes and said, Brother, this matter can't be decided by a few words of them. Yan Beiqing nodded at random, but his brows were already dyed with the right color. I always know the princess's character. She doesn't look like someone who would do such a vicious thing. The prince is the master of the mansion. Even the princess should be respectful to you. Naturally, you can't see anyone else. The maidservant was very smart. Hearing the words, she said again, Who knows in the palace? The princess is always harsh to the servants. Since the princess entered the palace, everyone is holding their heads. There are so many people in the government who are dissatisfied with me. I don't know. Thanks to your reminding. As soon as the voice fell, I heard the cold, frosty voice from the outside. I was so scared that my maid was shocked. Subconsciously, I bit my mouth tightly and didn't dare to say more. Shueji can't help looking up at the flowers on the street who just stepped into the house. When she looks inside her eyes, she rushes into a layer of unbelievable color, and her eyebrows jump fiercely. She only feels that things are beyond her control. Think of here, don't wait for Emo Shanghua to speak again. She quickly stood up with the skirt, came forward to grasp Emo Shanghua's hand, full of surprise. Sister, are you okay? I know that my sister is lucky and will be fine. Seeing this, the maidservant turned her eyes around. She dropped her eyes, but the smart one didn't open her mouth. Yan Beiqing propped his chin and looked at the dramatic scene as if he were watching a play. Yan Zhenxuan also seems to see something, silent looking at people, no plan to interrupt. Emo Shanghua's eyes were fixed on Shueji, who was in front of her. She took her hand out of her hand and said, I can't say that it's good for human and nature. At most, it's just a thought. However, Shueji, why are you so nervous and excited? I remember that my relationship with you seems not to be so good. Shueji took back her hands awkwardly and tried to pull out a smile. What my sister said, we are both sisters serving the Lord together. I naturally care about your safety. Is it? Emo Shanghua toned slightly up, voice cool mouth. In this case, how can you still allow your little maid here wantonly slander me? Before Shueji could make a speech, she asked herself, Oh, yes, you seem to have stopped me a little bit, but a master can't command his slaves. Is it because the rules of the palace are too lax, or is it not that you don't listen to me, but that the master can't stand my abuse by her mouth? Do you want to falsely accuse the Lord? Snow Ji's face immediately did not smile, staring at the flowers, eyes look constantly change. It's just that she's on the verge of success now, so she has to fight. Instead of stopping halfway, she'd better fight now. If she fails, she's trying to escape. Thinking of this, she could not help biting her teeth and kneeling down in front of Yanbei City again. The prince and the princess are right. I really want to borrow my maid's mouth. But I dare not frame up the princess. I'm just depressed and want to take the opportunity to ask the princess to be the master. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.